We've talked about it. You can do Australian, and not many people can.
I can do Australian pretty well.
I always go down
Mike-
to the British.
You're
British.
British. It sounds
I
like,
believe I'm British right
it
here.
sounds like a British.
I am.
It sounds like a Cockney accent.
No.
like
No.
Well, that's
I'm,
more Irish.
no, I'm doing Keira Knightley.
Oh,
Keira Knightley doesn't sound like that, dude.
Beautiful. God damn her.
You got to bet it like Beckham.
You want to know one of my favorite memories?
when you showed
Of
up at
knowing
Toy-
you?
you showed up at Toy Story.
God damn it! I felt so stupid.
As Woody and Jesse.
Yep.
Did you
Yep.
not?
And
know?
everyone else was
No.
You've
Cowboy.
been here before.
Everyone
You
else
know-
was
I was
Cowboys
not
and
included in
Indian.
the previous year, so I kind of forgot. Anyway, my favorite was when somebody we know was Wolfman.
that was great.
I was vampire.
You guys really like my outfit because that was very last minute where I ripped my shirt and I ripped my pants.
I
and-
remember because once again you were late.
Well, I was late. I was working that night.
You always are
loved-
working or something.
Well,
I
man
love the
shows up
freak,
late.
the freak
I
who
know.
just stared at the grass in your backyard.
No, that was for a Halloween
oh,
party.
I remember that.
Yeah,
And
you were
I-
up in the
I
attic,
got-
remember?
I literally got shafted.
That's when your brother
Polly
got
Bleeker.
drunk for the first time.
Polly Bleeker, but bitch, I should have won. Davey shouldn't have won.
Polly Bleeker, is that a real name?
Welcome back to season 3 of Three and a Half Gentlemen, the podcast, where 3 of the 4 hosts provide a refined and intellectual analysis of movies from our private collections, while one tries desperately to keep up.
That's right.
We'll let you decide which host is which, but for now, my name is Sean, and with me, as always, are my co-hosts, Brandon,
Hi guys.
Eddie,
Crickets.
and Jeremiah.
Oh, what up, yo?
This season, we're shaking things up a bit. We decided that each host will pick a film from each decade, from the 70s to today, that exemplifies that time period. Some of the films will be underrated, some classics, while others will be overrated piles of cinematic crap. To finish off each decade, the host will
Come on, you got it. You had it.
the host will have a group pick that is sure to delight. As with every review we give, our goal is to answer one simple question: How many drinks does it take to get through each film we've just watched? At the end of the podcast,
2,
3.
3.
At the end of the podcast, I'll rate the movie based on a scale of 0 to 5. 0 is the perfect film that you can watch stone cold sober, and 5 is the type of film that causes an infant alien spawn to burst from your chest and ravage a skeleton crew answering a distress call.
Or your butthole.
In addition to our review, we always pair our selection with a cocktail that we hope will enhance the viewing experience. This season, we want to focus a little bit more on the cocktail selection, so please feel free to shake, stir, or mix the cocktail that we've chosen and settle in for what we hope will be an engaging review. With that, Brandon, what movie do we have tonight?
Well, tonight we have the 1979 classic Alien. This film is rated an 8.4 on the Internet Movie Database, also known by us people in...
Can we call ourselves of the industry?
I believe that we are at this point. We have a damn podcast, the IMDb. And it has a critic score of 98% and an audience score of 94% on Rotten Tomatoes. And it's ranked 7th on AFI, that is the American Film Institute's 10 greatest science fiction movies of all time. All time. So, after a space merchant vessel receives an unknown transmission as a distress call, one of the crew is attacked by a mysterious life form, humped in the face, actually, and the crew soon realizes that its life cycle has merely begun. This science fiction classic stars Sigourney Weaver, Tom Skerritt, John Hurt, Ian Holm,
And Harry Dean.
and Henry Dean Stanton, who literally I feel like has been old forever.
He's dead.
He died like 2 years ago.
They're all
No,
dead.
I know he's dead.
They're all dead. John Hurt's dead. Ian Holmes
Sigourney
dead.
Weaver is okay.
No, all the last three. I was doing
Oh,
this and I
well.
was like, my God, John Hurt is dead. Ian
Well, I mean, at
Holmes
this
is
point,
dead.
79 is a long time ago.
Jeremiah, take us through first impression.
Before we get into our cocktail selection, we need to talk about whose film this is. Additionally, what our initial impression of the movie were before sitting down to watch it. Since this is my film, I will go first. I remember seeing Aliens before I saw Alien.
Alien. Oh,
No,
so
no,
you
you
saw
got it, you got it, you
Aliens
got it.
first.
Yeah, I remember seeing it. I remember it scaring the shit out of me. I remember thinking, like, if I ever got sick, like something was coming out of me or something like that, that something was going to burst out of my chest or something like that. But I think why I picked this movie was because the late 70s, you had horror and science fiction movies together, right? So, yeah, one year you had Jaws, the next year you had Star Wars, the next year you had Halloween, next year you had, Close Encounters of the Full Kind.
Wait, that was a... God, I feel like I remember that one.
No, but you think about it, like this movie was science fiction and horror, and they put it together. So that's why I thought this movie was the perfect film right here to actually, introduce about the 70s and things like that.
Sure. Eddie, what do you think?
This movie definitely wrapped up the 70s. I feel like it. If I think of this movie, I actually think of the 80s. To be honest, that's just how I think. Like when I was
Maybe because a couple months later was the 80s. I don't know.
when I pretty much like 4 or 5, but it's considered 79, Brandon. So it's considered.
No, it is
It
79.
is 79.
It's considered 79, Brandon. So it's the 70s.
Considered a whole different decade, even though
Yes.
there's a 7 instead of an
It's-
8.
Correct. So I'm right. So when I was thinking about this movie, it's like I think I watched it with Jeremiah. Like I watched Aliens first before I watched Alien. So I have when I first watched this movie again, it was a different idea of like, oh wait, this is how it started. But yeah, I
Brandon?
enjoyed it.
No, I can beat both of you guys. I saw Prometheus before I saw Alien. No,
man,
this for this podcast today was the first time I watched Alien. It's a movie that's always been on my radar that I've always wanted to watch. As you know, a self-professed cinephile, I've always wanted to see this movie, and I haven't ever seen it. So I came in with a lot of expectations.
Yeah.
And I don't think I was underimpressed or overimpressed. I was just,
Impressed.
pressed. I was just pressed. Yeah. It was good. I'd like to really talk about this one. So this is an interesting one. Sean?
So Jeremiah made me watch this one. So there was we when we lived together, he forced me to
Like that.
watch scary movies, and he made me watch Halloween. He made me watch The Thing. He made me watch this movie.
Did you like Halloween?
So I did like Halloween, kind of. Anyway, no, but let me just. This is a testament to I liked this movie so much that I bought the quadrilogy,
Which I was
is
really proud of you.
Alien, Aliens, Alien 3, Alien Resurrection,
Alien
and
versus
then
Predator.
I went and I watched AVP, AVB2.
I'm so sorry for you on that one.
AVB2
You need to watch
Requiem or
Predator.
whatever.
Just
And then I
Predator.
watched Prometheus and Covenant, and I got into the Alien universe and the Predator universe.
Blade Runner. Part of the
I've
universe.
seen Blade Runner.
Blade Runner was pretty fucking great.
I'm saying it's part of the universe.
Anyway,
Is it really?
I had zero expectations.
Ian
I thought
Holm.
this was going to be just a scary, straight up horror movie. I had always seen the chest bursting scene because I saw Spaceballs, right?
Yeah.
So
With
I
John
knew,
Hurt, he
I
was
knew
in
it
it.
was coming. But I will say this. When I sat down to watch this movie initially, I think we watched it together or something. I don't remember. But I was hooked from the moment it started till the end. Seriously?
And maybe
What?
You drank the drink?
It was good.
Bro. Eddie.
he drank the milkshake.
As we mentioned
I'm
earlier,
pissed off you drank the drink.
with each movie, we try to pair the tone, feel, and overall impact of the story of a cocktail. This season, we really want to discuss the cocktail and more, and how it links up with the movie selection. Everyone who listens knows that when we finally watch a Bond movie, we will pair it with a vodka martini, shaken not stirred with a lemon peel. But tonight's cocktail was chosen by Jeremiah. So, Jeremiah,
Again?
tell us about it.
Tonight we have the acid blood
Read
cocktail.
everything word for word.
Not only this drink is green like the
Hell,
alien
you want it from
blood
me.
bursting from the chest of John Hurt, but it also tastes delicious. This drink contains pineapple juice, Midori, and Malibu coconut rum.
It was all right.
So, gentlemen, since Eddie already drank his drink,
Bottoms
Bombs up,
drinking it.
guys. Let me know if you like it. 'Cause I drank mine already.
Oh my God.
You understand why I drank
That
it?
is fucking heaven.
I drank it. Oh, shit.
That's a company computer, bro.
I have two of them. I have two of them.
It's too much. It's too much.
well, I'm okay with this, man.
It tastes like
Too much what?
It tastes like
Midori.
cucumber. No,
Midori's way
for
too
me, it
much.
tastes like cucumber.
It tastes like seriously like a high C,
Oh, like the
ectoplasm
Slimer.
punch
Remember the Slimer?
but,
Yeah.
with alcohol.
I'm surprisingly enjoying this.
I really am not.
It's got your 3 favorite things.
It
know.
does, right?
I know, except for you, Sean. You're not in my cup.
Maybe you need the ice. I think you're an ice person, Brandon.
You're a nice person,
Oh my
Brandon.
God.
I think I might be a nice
I don't know
person.
how we've gotten here. I don't know.
I just remember the it drink, and I want that again.
The it drink with the cotton candy.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about
Yeah.
this movie. Let's start with. By the way, the cocktail was delicious, Jeremy. Thank you for
Thank
that.
you.
Wonderful-
1 out of
You know,
5.
coffee and cigarettes, and this one.
Coffee
I
and
think,
cigarettes was great.
Yeah, I think
Well, if you like coffee and cigarettes,
Well,
just like
you know.
mashed together and swallowed.
I do. So let's talk a little bit about the cast of this movie because
The 7 people.
I think that this movie would have failed
There's 7.
miserably without
Was I wrong?
without the right people in there.
I think the cast was fantastic, dude.
I'm going to disagree.
So let's talk about Sigourney Weaver. So Sigourney Weaver, this is the movie that kind of launched her. I would say launched her career. It also kind of changed the tone. That it showed that a woman could lead a she wasn't this vulnerable, shrinking Violet. She was strong. She could, defeat an alien. I think it was the first kind of female-driven
Badass
plot.
feminist. Yeah. So
it was her
here's
first leading role, though.
It was.
right?
Yeah.
No, well, I don't know if it's her leading role.
which is interesting because I was reading that she and Meryl Streep were in like they were the two in contention for it, and then Meryl Streep ended up pulling out because of personal issues, and
It would not
that's how
have been good with
Sigourney.
Meryl
And it's
Streep.
interesting because like I couldn't imagine this role being as classic and kind of as Sigourney Weaverish if with anybody else. Like now that being said, to me that this is a role and this is a performance overhyped through time. I don't think the movie is overhyped, but I do think that Sigourney Weaver as a character and as not as an actress.
Ripley is, and you haven't seen
Correct.
Aliens.
Yeah.
Alien 3.
Right.
Ripley became something different.
Right.
But in this movie, she was kind of.
They're all so
She emerged as the last person standing. That doesn't mean that she was the strongest. Like
I think she was the smartest in everything. Like, the whole,
Agreed.
She was
Protocol.
protocol.
Yeah. No, I think that was-
if
that
you
was
see someone coming
me.
out there, you're just like, yo, he needs to be quarantined.
Yeah, if this would have been solved by protocol.
Here's my thing.
standard operating
She
procedures.
literally could
people.
have saved this whole world. That was
She
it.
never opened up the door. It was the Ian guy.
But I agree with you, Sean. I think the crew, they just, when you saw them, you're like, okay, these guys been together for years, through hyperspace and things like that, or hypersleep and everything,
Yeah.
No, my thing is, and I was really frustrated with this, is that none of the characters had emotion. Now I know we had Ian Holmes' character; he was supposed to have no emotion because he's a robot, but everybody else,
Android.
No one knew
You're
that,
right.
though.
No, I know that, but every single other character, literally or actor, really had no emotion. And I kept going through this and saying, is it bad acting or is it bad writing on the dialogue?
We talked about this a little bit. I don't think it was either. I think one of the things that you're seeing is the 1970s into the 80s and even into the 90s had this idea that in the future people would have less emotion. Generally speaking, people were think about the plot, right? So you've got people who are sent by a corporation on this ship. They hear a distress call. They have to go out of their way to answer the distress call. They're kind of like The Office. This is their office. They're mundane. They do the same thing every day. They don't have excitement. They don't have emotion because they're stuck on this little tin can going through their daily lives as employees of this
No, and I
massive
really
corporation.
appreciate that. I definitely see what you're saying. I like that idea, except that when the shit hits the fan, I feel like we should have a little bit more reaction. And this is what I put down in my notes, is that to me, Parker is the best character. Yaphet Kotto.
Which I think he just passed away, not like
Seriously,
weeks
like,
ago.
yeah,
Really?
a month ago.
So, but I absolutely loved his character. You know what? Because he was human. He had emotion. He was angry. He was scared. He reflected, I think, what a lot of us would feel in that situation, which was kind of this unease. Where then you have all these other characters, especially Dallas with Tom Skerritt and Ripley by Sigourney Weaver. I think that both of them are just literally robotic,
A little wooden.
wooden. And I mean, I put it here; they're flat. And again, I don't think it didn't bother me enough to hurt my view of the movie, but it did take away from how good I think this movie could have been with a little bit more enthusiasm from the way that they portrayed their characters.
I have to I agree with you, and I kind of have to disagree with you on that part, Brandon, because I think Lambert, seriously played the role like, this person that just seemed like she was falling apart, as you watch the story and everything like that. I see that,
She had that, yeah.
Brett and Parker were like, a group together, they were like kind of the people like running the engineer part and whatnot, and they were actually separated from the rest of each other.
Didn't get paid enough,
They
obviously.
didn't get paid enough, exactly.
They
And I-
did-
And this is
They
the
kept
big-
wanting the
this
bonus.
This is the same concept that Ridley Scott uses over and over. There's this massive, big, overarching corporation that makes people into drones. And I feel like Blade Runner
Blade Runner.
is very much like that. Alien, The Thing. You have kind of, I know that was John Carpenter, but you have kind of the same vibe going on where it's like people trapped, not necessarily doing what they love, but having to do things based on corporate mandates, and it creates kind of a
Mundanity,
that word.
a mundane situation.
It does. It creates a mundane situation where I don't think that they have the emotions and this movie brings out their emotions in a way that they don't expect because they're being assaulted in a very confined space. This also kind of created a genre, this movie.
Explain to me.
Okay, so The Thing was unique. the movie The Thing, was unique because you were trapped in an ice station. This movie kind of picked up on that and made it even bigger, where you're trapped with the thing that's trying to kill you, and it's either you or it.
I think it's also a psychological thriller. Like, like it somehow it gets into your body in the worst fucking way when you think about it, right? And it impregnates you, and then you have something like a thing coming out of your body, and it's terrifying. But what I really like this movie a lot, and this is like one of the best thing about this movie, it does the whole Jaws thing, is that you don't see what the alien looks like majority of the movie, half of the movie.
But you know what it does, as opposed to other movies with aliens, and I'm going to go ahead and Sean, I know you love this movie, Super 8, is I think a lot of times
disappointment.
There's no disappointment when you see the. I mean, another one that I love, and I know you don't, is Cloverfield. Like when we see it, I know, we can talk about it all day.
I'm not against
love
the story. My God, that camera just doesn't stop moving.
But see, the thing is though, when we see these characters, when we see these creatures, so much of the time, I don't care if Baker does it or not, they're disappointing. This is one of the very few times I watched a movie and they could have. I wanted them to show the alien more, right? I just thought it was so well done and so cool.
I agree with you.
So you were saying how this movie takes from The Thing. It's vice versa. This movie, the Thing takes from
The Thing was a book.
Okay, but I'm saying The Thing was.
I'm saying the story.
Yeah.
Not the movie. The story.
Okay, yeah.
And the Thing the original one, bro.
82.
It came out in the original one
82.
came out in 1950s actually.
Yeah, but
the Thing was a remake.
story.
The story, but
Yeah.
the movie itself,
No, there was a 1950s movie.
the 1950s movie.
Yeah, it was a remake, the 82 one actually.
Sorry, I apologize. I should
I
have been
was
more
I was
clear.
I was thinking
should have been more
82.
clear. Well, I know John Carpenter redid it, but I've seen the original now, and it's the same kind of concept where you're trapped with your enemy, and that's what I think a lot of movies have done since then. Die Hard was essentially that. Is they're trapped in a building with a villain.
Yes.
It's the
Easy,
same
Brandon.
kind of concept where you have to make a decision whether you're going to defeat your enemy or let
Yeah.
your enemy infiltrate. And this is actually, I think, the movie of infiltration, right?
Yeah.
You're going to literally let it eat you from the inside out, or you're going to kill it.
So good.
No, I was just thinking like Ripley. I mean, Ripley is there's a reason why she's number 2 in charge, right?
I think Ripley was smart as shit.
Yeah,
in this
she
movie,
and
dude.
they and
Yeah.
obviously, I mean, you see why. What is it, Ash? Yeah, Ash is like he is in there for a reason, and he's from the corporation.
Dude,
Like he's a scientist who is trying to get the aliens on board. Like he likes to see the.
and what's so cool about that, dude, Ash, is like this is what I really love about this movie. If you watch this movie over again, you're seeing a different movie if you watch it from Ash's point
Yes.
of view, because you literally see Ash just like, knowing exactly what he's going to do.
Ash had no,
Yeah,
he was
it's
not scared at all. He was
so-
just trying. You realize that after you watch it twice that he's not human.
Well, I want to just go ahead and take you guys into my world.
Because this is the first time you've
As I'm
seen it.
watching it, I write in my notes, Ash robot, like Fassbender and Prometheus. Oh, wrote literally 2 seconds before this. So I had literally figured it out, and I'm not joking. Like, I finished writing, and I looked up and I'm like, he's got spaghetti from his head. And I mean, to me, it was so well done. No, I do have two things. One is more of a statement. The other is a question to you guys. But one thing I loved so much is that John Hurt, for whatever reason, that chest bursting scene, I had always assumed and thought that it was the end of the movie. I'd always thought that it was the end of the movie, and I think it's maybe because of Spaceballs, isn't that
Yeah.
at the end? So I had that in my head.
the last scene in Spaceballs.
So I always had that. So literally, when
Hello, my
we're
ragtime guy.
so when we're a quarter of the way in the movie and it happens, I know what's going to happen because I mean everybody who's lived knows this scene is going to happen. I was shocked, and it reminded me so much of Janet Leigh dying in Psycho that you have this major actor who dies really early on, and it kind of leaves us completely blank.
Well, and it shows you it's kind of like what they did later in Deep Blue Sea, where they killed Samuel L. Jackson in the first like 20 minutes, and you're like, oh, no one's safe. And one of the things that I like about these type of movies, this is not a straight up horror movie. I was not terrified of the alien. I was terrified for the crew, but it creates this
Atmosphere. Yeah.
of anticipation. You're like, oh shit!
Now-
Literally, no one is safe. Everyone is going to die.
Now, that being said, because I knew that Ripley survived, I wasn't worried at the end when she goes into the space shuttle and it's there. But I'm thinking if I had seen this in 1979 without knowing that she was going to survive and make multiple other ones, and I know one of them she's like a robot thing.
Don't get ahead of yourself.
Spoilers. David Fincher. Anyway, but no, like if I was seeing this in 1979 in theaters, I think I genuinely would have been scared. I would have been terrified of her.
It's an edge of your seat thriller.
It is 1,000%.
I agree. I mean, like you look at even when they're looking at the ship I think you say Prometheus.
The Nostromo.
Yeah, I mean, watching that movie now helps a lot. It's like, oh, hey, that's the same ship that they're like walking into,
And people get pissed.
and they're
about
huge. Those
Prometheus
people
and
who
that.
died in that Prometheus movie, they're not the same size, right?
The only problem with it, and I was because after I spent an hour and a half looking at YouTube videos connecting all the dots for me, the timeline, right? They said it. I think it was only 30 or 50 years before Alien is when Prometheus would have been. So they're saying, it should have been more time for this.
Covenant was about
evolutionary-
17 years before.
Yeah, so they were saying
story.
evolutionarily, it should have been a lot longer, unless you have this. I know we're going to have, but
Go ahead.
I was going to say. So the only other the question I want to have with you guys is two things. Number one, why the fucking cat? Or is it just to add like, oh, that's
Jones?
scary? Yeah, Jones is a piece of shit.
So-
and number two, which is two-parter, why the fuck would you be smoking on a spaceship and then a flamethrower? Anybody?
Okay, I can answer both those questions.
Please
right
do.
Tell you
'cause
what,
that
Parker-
bothered me.
70s and 80s. This is no. I'm.
This
telling you,
reminded me
it's
of
same
the end
thing
of
as
Once Upon a Time in
Terminator.
Hollywood.
There's a freaking gecko in Terminator, and you're like, why? Why is there a gecko? So, and I
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, we just have a flamethrower just for no fucking
I'll
reason.
tell you exactly why. Because there's two parts in the movie where
I know what
the
you're saying.
cat
Reacts.
creates the anticipation. No, it scares you instead of being the alien. So
And then you have that really
using it-
cool scene of
Yeah,
that
but
thing,
they're using it as a way to
Jump scare.
you without showing the alien.
And I, for some reason,
Yeah.
for the longest time when I remember watching this when I was younger, I always thought that the cat was going to get affected or some shit like that. I never thought that something was going to happen where the xenomorph would just grow and something like
I'm
that.
just like, why the cat? It's just so silly. And then, I love it at the end. I want to know how many takes they did for Sigourney Weaver to keep getting clawed to death as she's putting the damn cat in.
how
I'm just thinking, God, just
How many times did Indiana Jones reach for his hat? It's the same concept. It's that
I
this
agree
is
with you on that,
tying
yeah,
you
yeah.
to humanity.
Yeah.
I don't want a cat there. And the flamethrower, I know. It just to me was like, God, and smoking. I'm like, you shouldn't be doing that. in
I
a
like the
controlled
fact that
environment.
you're talking about the chest scene burst because basically it's pretty much famous now that the chest burster, the whole crew, the cast, was not expecting for it. So you're literally seeing like their reaction, which is beyond priceless.
Yeah,
When
they
you
didn't know it was going to happen.
They didn't know what was
Oh,
going to
totally.
happen. Like
No,
you
no, I
see
mean,
Veronica's like the actress who played Lambert's.
Oh, yeah.
You see her face, like blood coming in her face, and she's like freaking out. That is such a priceless, like that's one of the best things of cinema history. Seeing that scene.
I think vice versa. I was looking at that, and just recently I thought everyone thought that besides one person. It was Brett. I thought Brett knew what was going to happen. Brett was lying the whole time. He knew the whole time. I thought there was another life form in him. He was just being honest. And this whole time you saw from the very beginning he was looking at Kane. He just kept looking at Kane. He was watching him. So when it happened, Kane was like he even said like, hold on, like wait, like the whole time Brett was almost wanting the life form to survive. It was a
So
life
let's
form.
give you that
I'm
feeling.
going to go.
I give
I'm
you
going
that.
to go out on a limb and agree with you, but not from his perspective. I think Ash.
Yeah.
I think
Ash.
the corporation knew.
I said Brett. Yeah.
I think Ash
wanted
knew
Brett. Ash knew what was happening.
what was happening, and I think the corporation wanted the sample, wanted the xenomorph, wanted the alien to come. And I know that that's kind of
What you got from Prometheus.
implied from Prometheus, but from this movie you can kind of see it where the corporation's like, oh, I don't care about you. I don't care about the
I don't care
7
about the crew.
people.
Yeah.
I care about a much more expensive prize.
On a narrative level, I want to talk about something to me was the most genius thing I've seen, and I didn't know anything about this one, like anything. And that's the acid blood. To me, that was literally the most genius move ever.
the best,
Okay, but I
the
have a
best
problem
defensive
with- You do.
mechanism.
because I think the effect was good. I think the narrative was good.
But no, see, because
But isn't
because
it
then you
just
can't
gonna-
kill it. Because the thing is, you can't kill it because then it's going to end up destroying you, right? You can't shoot it because then it's going to
But
bleed
what-
out. Oh,
it
it's
was
so
already
good.
there was already acid blood released, and it was going through the ship. Wouldn't it have eventually broken the seal of the ship?
Because what they're saying is it
It stops after a
slowed
while.
down.
It slows
slowed
down after a while.
That's what they're going
It's-
level to
it's,
level
you
to
know,
level
no,
level.
I get that, but like at some point you're done. Like, why didn't they all just get on the escape pod and go
They didn't have
out?
enough. They didn't have enough room.
Well,
they
remember,
said
it
that
was
they had
small.
It
It
was
was-
like
in
two
fact-
people probably.
And
Four
at
is
the
too
time,
many.
It was the
Yeah.
face hugger, actually. It wasn't an alien. It wasn't the xenomorph that
That's
actually
right.
grew. So
That's right.
No,
Okay.
because it stops in level 3 down instead of 4 or 5.
I also want to make a comment on Tom Skerritt's character. I don't know if anyone's seen the trailer for this movie. Have you seen the
You
trailer?
talking about Dallas?
Yeah.
the trailer of this movie, like, if you get a chance, listeners, like, watch the trailer because it's so freaking dope.
And it was the first what I call blink sequence trailer, where it goes from scene to scene and it goes black. The scenes change and the music goes meow, meow. Rogue One kind of did it. There's a
Yeah.
couple. It's become really popular, but it went from like slow to this. The trailer set up the tone of the movie better than most trailers do in movies.
And best quote for the movies, right?
Yeah,
What's
in
the saying?
space.
No one can hear you scream. Fucking perfect.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think about the score? Like, because I think there was a lot of butting heads between the director and I believe it was Jerry Goldsmith and everything like that. Like, for me, I don't really think the score fit the movie.
So I think that you have Star Wars coming out in 1977 with this big, bold brass score. And I think that there's a pressure. It's a space movie. It's Ridley Scott. He's not necessarily
No one.
Yeah. Established director. There's a lot of pressure from the studio to be like, hey, this is going to be like Star Wars, right? Like, this is going to be a Star
This
like
movie was made because of Star Wars.
Yeah. And he's like, no, it's not Star Wars at all. It's a completely different.
But one of the things that I noticed, and I think if you know movies, you have to say it, is the opening shot of the spaceship going. It's a Star Wars shot.
For sure.
Oh, yeah,
100%.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then the slow creep through the spaceship. And Sean and I, we talked about this the other day. When we're seeing the interior, to me, the set design, hands down, one of the best set designs
felt
I've ever
Absolutely.
seen.
It felt like Kubrick.
It felt
yeah,
Kubrick.
It felt Kubricky.
But it also had that Lucas Star Wars vibe to me, where but at the same time, what I would notice is that every spaceship movie I've seen since '79 has taken completely from this. This is such a revolutionary, groundbreaking set design, at least film.
Well, it's interesting you say that because I think this movie set up a generation of films.
Agreed, yeah.
I think this created a tension on screen between characters, and it played with gender roles, and it played with corporations versus people. It had so many subtle dynamics to it. I'm not sure Ridley Scott, like, I never think that these people are like, I'm going to put this in, because now you can see when people put shit in, right?
Yeah.
We just talked about it, a couple weeks ago when we did Justice League, and you had, Wonder Woman talking to that little girl. It's like, it felt
Wonder
forced.
Woman.
It felt like they're trying to insert a societal problem into the movie. This felt more subtle. It felt
Yeah.
like there was
It was more organic.
and it
Yeah,
was
definitely.
and it was futuristic, right? So it's like, okay, even in the future, there's a dichotomy between men and women. They're in space. There's
felt dirty.
strength. It did. It felt
It just felt like this is not your particular spaceship, science fiction, all glossy and whatnot. It felt dirty. It felt gross. It felt claustrophobic. It felt like when you go to the space jockey, that scene, that's probably one of the most unbelievable set designs that you've ever seen, actually. And I love how the fact that he actually filmed his kids as the astronauts in that little section because they wanted to make it so big, which is pretty awesome, actually, man.
who did the sets in this?
I'm not sure, but let's
Because
talk about.
I bet it was the same guy who did him for James Bond. I would bet dollars on it.
Was it H.R. Geiger, the guy who created
Well,
the
he
Alien?
did the-
Alien?
No, the sets, not the
Oh.
not the
Not concept.
not the yeah.
I just have I don't know. I don't like how, when you make this movie, it's more than one, right? Like the way they ended this movie, it was
No,
just like,
because they
okay,
kick- they
we're
kick
gonna make
him
another
out.
movie.
No, I think that they kick him out, and they thought this could be a standalone.
Just because the next movie afterwards came in '86.
Yeah, they took a long time to do that movie.
And a
It
different
came in-
director.
It came in
Yeah.
7 years later. So, but in my eyes, it's like when she went to bed, this is like, well, what's gonna happen when she wakes up? Like, I instantly I
Well,
started thinking,
yeah,
I don't know
but-
if that's just because I saw the
I think
Aliens
it might
too.
be, honestly, because I look at that, and if I'm looking at it in 1979, I'm thinking, okay, she's going to sleep. She's got the cat. They're both going to go to sleep, and they're going to wake up, however many years later, back on Earth. I think it's
Something
a
about
perfect
6
open
weeks later.
door. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's an open. It opens the door for sure. But at the same time, Yeah, I think that it ends well because it can take it one of two ways. It's almost like Star Wars, right? I mean, they have the ceremony in A New Hope. It could end right there, but since it did so well, hey, let's go ahead and just say what happens after they celebrate these rebels. And then
Did you ever watch this? Did you watch? Is this the first time you watched
first
this?
time I watched it or any
Ridley
Alien,
Scott?
except for Prometheus. I mean, that's interesting too. Is that this is Ridley Scott's first major studio directing gig, and to me
Oh,
that's insane.
Same guy who did Star Wars. He was a set decorator.
See, yeah.
Fucking A, man.
But to
James
me-
James Cameron did
Yeah,
part 2.
James
Yeah,
B.
he
Cameron-
did Star Wars, Alien, Return of the Jedi, Star Wars, Phantom Menace, Adventures of Young Indiana Jones.
Yeah, he's
So
got it.
yeah,
He's got it.
Battlefield Earth. That was a fucking terrible movie.
But we see
Okay, every
Is
now and
John
then you
Travolta
find.
and shit?
Every now and then you find.
Yeah, you're like, oh god, that was.
every now and then you have a bad
Hey,
one.
but the
okay?
ships look really cool in that one.
But no, Ridley Scott to me it was insane because he just seemed so assured of himself in this movie, and to me, for a youngish director, that was pretty intense.
Yeah.
I think that just like Spielberg and Jaws, just like Lucas and Star Wars, this is a movie you have to you either rise to the challenge or you burn out miserably. And there's been directors who burned out miserably. I think that it was the two people who got hired to do Solo.
Lord and what's his
yeah.
name?
Lord and whatever.
other guy.
I think that it was too big of a project. I don't think that they were
Well, and it was
comfortable
not
doing
Lego.
No, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I
it was
get it.
too big for them. Ridley Scott saw this and went, you know what? I'm going to do it. And,
And
look what he's
since
done
then, I was going to say, since then, it laid the groundwork for everything he's done.
But he's played so many different genres.
With the exception of
against each
Matchstick
other.
Man,
He even
everything
went
else
back
is
to
big.
the science fiction. He did The Covenant. He also did Prometheus. He did Martian, which I thought that was a great movie.
He did a good year. Didn't he do
Yeah, good year.
Gladiator? I mean,
Well, yeah.
this guy is a
Kingdom of Heaven, which I
Blade
think is a
Runner.
great
shit, dude.
director. I think it's interesting to see also the budgetary restrictions of this movie, which, by the way, is why you see the dirtiness and the smoking and because
Why
when
you see
don't-
the aliens just a
when-
little bit.
right when you don't have the budget, you've got to fill it with other things.
Right. No, I genuinely enjoyed this one. To me, and I know I said it before, but it came down to the woodenness and the flatness of the characters, and maybe that is a stylistic choice, and maybe that is a narrative choice. But it is interesting. I mean, I would love to talk a little bit more about Ash because I thought that Ash was actually one of the great characters, and when he is going through and
Ian
looking
Holmes.
at, yeah,
Which is funny because he was this one, and then the other actor that played him in Aliens and Alien 3, and
That was Lance Hickerson.
yeah, he built on what Ian Holm did, and it was just magnificent.
Even Michael Fassbender.
Michael
dude.
Fassbender
Yeah.
did a great job too. I'm just saying that style of character, I'm using air quotes, that style of character, I think was born right here. The android,
Yeah.
like I think Data from Star Trek pulled from this character.
Yeah, I mean, so when he gets destroyed, I mean, to me, yeah, the special effects were a little hokey at the time with his head talking, but at the same time, I was like, oh, that's kind of hokey. But I was like genuinely like, damn, that's really cool that his head's just standing there and he's just talking, and it was weird sci-fi cool, if that makes sense.
I love that part too because like he's like so infatuated with this species, like he just thinks it's the most perfect organism and everything like that. And I love in the end where he's just like he has no emotion, but he's like, "You have my sympathy" or something like
Yeah,
that.
you have my sympathy.
And
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
Dude, I was like, "Fuck, this guy fucking like totally got you in the end."
So, I was looking at the fun facts. Harrison Ford actually turned down the role of Dallas.
That makes sense.
So Tom, and I love Tom Skerritt. Tom Skerritt is fantastic.
I love the fact that
He's
you're
still
right.
alive.
He died in this movie. Like you would think that he is like
But
protagonist.
he's top billing. He is the guy. I actually don't know that for a
He's
fact.
the captain of the ship.
Was he top billing? I think he might have been.
you would think that he's going to be the leader. He's going to survive.
Yeah, Tom Skerritt was top billing. Sigourney Weaver second. You've got this. It's once again you've got, and I love the way he died. He was in the tube, and you have this.
Oh, this cat and mouse type
Oh,
of like,
man.
yeah.
I felt this movie.
He also had his chance to he didn't need to be in there. Originally, it was supposed to be
Right,
I think
two others kind of suggested.
Ridley, Ripley was said, "Oh, I'll go," but then like Dallas is like, "No, I'm going," I think he took a little ownership of like the whole reason why we're in this mess is because of me. So I'm going.
Yeah, exactly, dude. You should have quarantined his ass. But
Yeah, he realizes like
Yeah,
we
it's
should
like, yeah, I fucked
quarantine.
up on
My
that
bad,
one.
I fucked up. Like
How
I'm
do
going.
you not quarantine? It's like, how do you not? You've got an alien
But
sucking the face.
Remember this. It was the android. It was Ash
No,
who
I
let them
know.
in.
So
Because
it's-
because Ash wanted once
Yeah.
again. Well, and you get this, and I know you haven't seen number 2, but Paul Reiser is kind of a company stooge in the second one.
Always an
He's a
alien
fucking
messing up.
asshole in
And
that
you've
movie.
got kind of this like, yeah, I don't
Sleazy.
care about you. I care about like this new evolution of being, and I want to
A weapon.
I want to understand what's
Yeah.
going on.
yeah.
And the second one, I will say this: I like that this quadrilogy, or however many you want to talk, the series is all directed by different people until you get to the Prometheus and
Pretty
Covenant.
strong directors.
But yeah, you've got James Cameron who directed number 2,
You got David Fincher.
David
number 3.
Fincher, and then I think number
The guy who
4
directed
was-
Amelie.
famous guy, just not.
Yeah,
It
he's
was a
a
little foreign.
French director.
Yeah. All 4 movies have this way different flair. So you've got when James Cameron gets a hold of it, it's more of a
War movie.
like a like open battle.
Space Marines.
Because this movie is so confining. You feel claustrophobic. You feel like you're trapped in the ship with the alien.
And I'll tell you about the director's cut because we were talking about like if you want to watch the director's cut or not watch the director's cut. In the director's cut, if you guys haven't seen this, you guys can turn it off and watch the director's cut and come back on. Okay, now you're back here. So what happens is that you actually see Tom Skerritt actually being cocooned into in a hive, and that's when Sigourney Weaver actually sees him and he's like, "Kill me," seriously, and it's so scary. And she does the flamethrower on it, but he's about to become like a host in a way.
Well, that's just because we don't see, at least in the version I watched, which I guess would be the theatrical. We don't see anything with any of the other people until at the very end. We even see him, yeah. No, I was gonna say in my notes. I literally said, "Kill his ass once you see the face hug."
Yeah.
I mean, to me, I don't even know why this. Well, it's not quarantine. Let's just shoot him out into space.
Well, and I'll quote Sheldon Cooper again from Big Bang Theory: "Kill the guy with a snivelly nose." If that was as
literally.
easy as it was, people would have done it a long time ago. I think that you have this interesting thing about human frailty about this movie too. Is we are weak, we are susceptible to this alien force that's coming in, and
or to the unknown. I
and
think.
you don't
Yeah.
know how
exactly.
how it's gonna end. I think that this series, particularly, I don't want to harp too much on the series, but this was one of the more consistent series that you can watch.
I agree with that.
As far as I don't think all the movies were fabulous, like the best movies you've ever seen, but they all had a really interesting storyline, and you felt consistently claustrophobic. Because number 2 is like on a base. Number 3 is like on a prison planet.
Number 2 is pretty cool because where they found the alien ship and whatnot. They actually the company decides to actually bring
Military trained people.
pioneers to actually to change the planet and whatnot. And then you're like, okay, there's a mystery, and it's pretty. Dude, aliens is like my favorite.
What is that called when they terraforming?
Colonize.
Terraforming. Yeah, they're terraforming the planet. They're
Oh.
making it capable of human life,
So
and then they're going to colonize.
yeah, there you go. But yeah, I totally suggest that you guys watch all these movies because they have a great atmosphere, really scary type of that.
And they kill people off in that one, by the way, Brandon, just like they do in this one, where it's like, oh, this is a really big act. Oh, he's dead.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the thing.
Oh, there's a love interest. Oh, he's dead.
Oh, that's right, dude.
keep us on their toes, and I think
Right.
that's an important thing to do. That a lot of movies have succeeded with is that they give us kind of from the psycho Hitchcockian
Yeah.
theory is that nobody's safe, and if nobody's safe, then we shouldn't feel safe.
And I don't mean to keep harping on it, but this idea of the overarching corporation expanding its will through people, not just people, but androids, and it's like company policy is over people. And this was a consistent theme, I think, in the 70s and 80s and even into the 90s. But in these movies, particularly, and Blade Runner, and what did you say that this movie, Blade Runner, and
This movie, Blade Runner, Prometheus,
Prometheus are all in the same universe.
And Predator.
But you have this overarching theme of a evil big corporation not really caring about the people it sends into harm's way.
I like how Brandon was saying that this is the same world as Predator, and Blade Runner. I never thought about that, but then thinking about it now, it's like Predator and Alien has
Well,
always
Alien
been
versus
the
Predator,
I
same.
remember Predator too, bro. Like when the Predator had all his trophies of all the animals and like aliens that he fought. When not you see the xenomorph's skull
Yeah.
in the back,
Alien.
and you're just
Which-
like, holy shit,
That's
Alien
it.
versus Predator. What the fuck?
Which
Yeah.
I know you
That
don't
was the
like
reason.
the Requiem movie, the second one, but the first Alien versus Predator, the concept I think is badass. That aliens were actually created to be the way that predators became predators. So you haven't seen the movie, but the idea is that
Like a training technique?
predators are sent to this temple, this pyramid, and they have to prove themselves by killing aliens. And the aliens, they would send humans in, and the humans would be the hosts. And it was just a very interesting concept to me. I didn't necessarily care for the movie that much, but the principal idea behind it, I think,
The whole
was
idea
brilliant.
of Predators always hunting down the aliens.
Right.
The whole reason.
and that's what brought him to Earth.
So
Like,
then
that's,
where
you
does
know.
where does Predator fall in the timeline of this?
So Predator?
we know, is it before
I
or
don't
after?
I don't think Predator has anything to do with this. I think Predator 2 would suggest that it was supporting the fact.
They cross somewhere in somewhere's in the universe.
I'm just thinking because obviously Predator came out in the 80s, right?
yes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
87.
So was that the initial intent?
In Predator 2, it certainly was because
Okay.
the Xenomorph was in Predator
Right.
2.
You were saying that. Okay.
I don't know about the first one because the first one was kind of a
Jungle.
vehicle for
Vietnam.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure.
But it had the same concept when you think about it, Sean.
Yeah.
Because like you don't see the alien, and then you realize, oh shit, it's actually like blending in with the woods and
And once again, that was a product of the fact that Jean-Claude Van Damme dropped out. And that, I'm talking about Predator, and that the special effects were so bad they didn't want to show you Predator because he was terrible. And it took them so long to get a suit that was good that by the time they got the suit that was good, half the movie had been shot.
but it worked. It worked.
It worked
Yeah.
beautifully.
So when you think about like when you don't see the alien monster or you don't see like the thing that's chasing you, your imagination scares the shit out of you.
Well, it's the three barrels from Jaws.
Yeah.
The best thing that ever happened to Steven Spielberg with that movie is the shark didn't work.
So let me ask you guys this question, everybody. Besides Star Wars, so it's off the table. What is your favorite outer space movie?
Fuck.
That's a great question.
That's such a hard question, dude.
I will answer mine, and then I'll give you guys time to think.
Outer space, not science fiction, but outer space.
Outer space. Yeah.
Okay.
Outer space. So my favorite is a little indie movie, of course, called Moon, starring Sam Rockwell. If you haven't seen that movie, it is
movie.
absolutely amazing, fantastic, one of my favorites. So please go see that movie. But no, I was just thinking that right now is that it's a genre on its own, and I think there's so many good ones.
I'll
gonna
go
say Sunshine?
Yeah, I was gonna go say that. I think Sunshine is one of my favorite ones. A lot of people
It's a good
don't
one.
like it.
Oh, those last 15
tried to
minutes,
get
but until then.
I tried to get Hannah to watch it, and she's like, "I fucking hate science fiction movies."
But see, that one's not. I mean, it is science
It
fiction.
is science
absolutely.
fiction because they're
100%.
trying to blow up the sun, But
yeah.
I fucking love that movie, and I thought it was
score.
so good. The
Wait,
score.
Sunshine?
Oh my
Sunshine.
god.
Yeah, but that's not. Is that Alien movie?
Science
No,
fiction.
science
I was
fi- or
just saying
science- outer
fiction.
space, outer
Outer
space.
space movie.
Speaking of, I mean, I know we're getting off topic, but that's Clint Mansell. It's not Clint. Yeah, I
Fuck.
know who you're talking about.
The guy who directed Trainspotting.
Oh no, I was talking about the music.
No,
because-
that was
yeah,
John
that's Danny
Murphy.
Boyle.
Yeah, that was John Murphy.
Yes, it's Danny Boyle does that one.
Danny Boyle. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Sean
Sean,
is
what's yours
googling
now?
over there.
I'm
you-
Googling desperately because I'm like, what movie that
Outer
I-
space.
So
Can't be Star Wars,
It
though,
can't
because
be
we'd all-
Star
we-
Wars.
we would
so
all say
I'm
that
gonna go
one.
with Trek. I mean,
Oh, second favorite.
Wait.
then.
Are you
Second
talking
favorite.
about the 70s, or are you talking about with the Chris Pine one? Because the
no,
Chris Pine
I
was pretty
would
fucking
say
great.
I would say that the best Star Trek movies are Search for Spock, Voyage Home, Wrath of Khan,
4, 2.
and then Star Trek, the Chris Pine one.
Okay.
And then I would even go. I would go.
Didn't see this
Into
loophole.
Darkness, but that,
Didn't see this
I know
loophole.
the loophole, but I'm thinking like Star Trek just came up, and I'm like, oh, I don't.
And I would say
I
that
can't not say that.
something like Predator, I think could work because it's an alien, it's an outer space, it's not
Okay, but
non-Earth,
if you're gonna go alien based, then ET.
off
But
of Earth.
if we're going off world, then
Yeah.
it's a different situation. You know what? It was really funny is I haven't seen it in a long time, but there's a movie called Mission to Mars that I remember
Yes.
being pretty damn good with
Gary
Tim Robbins.
No, that's
This is older than that, I think.
Mission to Mars.
it's
No,
a Gary
it was-
Gary
it was-
Sinise. Is he in that
2000s.
movie?
It was in the. I might have been. Might have been earlier.
Oh, Eddie's got that. That was 2000.
So I mean, we also have
exactly 2000.
we have
Okay.
The Martian, which I think was good.
I never saw that. Yeah.
To be funny, so normally I'm pretty like freaking out over
I have to go
different
with
directors.
also like Interstellar. You got, man, some people may not like it, but
Yeah.
I think it's just beautiful and just how it is and going to these planets.
it's an interesting one. I'll give you that.
That was a nice way to
what
say
about
it.
Xenon Girl of the 21st
Oh,
century?
see now we're just fucking it up.
Well, no, because I was thinking about it, and I'm like, okay, can I say a TV show? Because if you're going to allow me
Galaxy
to do a TV
Quest?
show, then I'll do Battlestar
Or not Galaxy
Galactica.
Quest.
I think Battlestar Galactica is probably one of the
Oh,
better,
man, dude.
the better space
Look at the
operas.
ace on his sleeve on that one, dude.
I know. I've been thinking about that.
That was good, dude.
Oh, yeah, Don Cheadle.
Don
Cheadle.
Cheadle.
John Cheadle.
Yeah.
All right, he was in Mission to Mars.
Uh,
You want to know what mine
I didn't
is?
see that one.
Sure.
You already said it though.
The astronaut's wife.
Nope.
Charlie's Theron.
We watched it already once.
what do we do?
Which one?
Galaxy Quest.
Galaxy Quest.
Ooh,
Good job.
Armageddon? Does that count?
Oh,
No, does not count. Does not count. No.
No.
Galaxy Quest. That was good, man.
But I
So
think-
you know,
I also-
Galaxy Quest is 41st on the top 50.
What's okay,
50 being the top.
number
Avatar.
one? Is number one 2001?
I also like
No.
Oh,
Plan
I'll-
9 from Outer Space.
Interstellar. I like Interstellar.
Interstellar was
No,
I like
good.
Interstellar.
Spaceballs. Damn it.
Have you watched Gravity?
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a good
I
one.
love
Sandra
that one.
Bullock.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that the one with
Sandra Bullock
Bullock
and George Clooney.
Yes.
So and I guess what I love about this movie about
Apollo
Alien-
13. I think that's a great one.
Oh,
Too.
Apollo 13 is great.
Yeah.
What's great about this movie though is it creates a claustrophobia. So everybody see First Man? Terrible movie.
Oh, with Ryan
Awful.
Gosling.
yeah, that's good.
literally
Yeah.
freaking terrible.
Not bad actually.
But what I liked about it is that you felt claustrophobic.
It reminds me a lot of the submarine movies. So you got
Yeah.
Widowmaker, you got UB
U571.
U571, not UB40. That's a band. But no, what I'm thinking about is as I'm thinking about all these different movies that we're listing. To me, we can point back to Alien, the original Alien, as really kind of again that foundational text, I guess, that all these
couldn't
other
agree with
ones
you more.
are really based on. And so, from when we get to the scores, I'm going to be thinking about that, and I think that we really need to kind of consider that.
So let's talk about the actual xenomorph as a character, as a puppet, as what it was. I mean, I loved the technical aspect of it. I'm a huge fan of Stan Winston. I'm a huge fan of what he did with Jurassic Park. I think that he learned a lot from this movie. Like I felt like he stole a lot from this.
So
movie.
something I didn't know is that it was actually I don't even know not human, but it had arms and had legs. So I always thought of it as kind of like this huge like slithering kind
No,
of
it's a
monster,
person.
but it's a person
Yeah.
with like a big old like race car helmet.
And I will say the second one kind of ruined it because it was like a big mom.
Well, then you got the
But then you've got the
little one.
protrusion.
Yeah,
right,
but it
so-
was the queen, dude. The queen was laying the eggs and whatnot, which
Yeah, it
was
was weird
pretty
as fuck.
scary, dude. I thought it was pretty
Yeah.
awesome. But I love the fact that this was just based off of a person's like erotic design, and it's spooky as shit. It's like this, if you see this guy H.R. Geiger's paintings, you literally see like this sexual freaking type of like design, and it's
Well,
creepy
and
as shit, dude.
I'm going to say something inappropriate before the podcast, but I did feel like that the alien was sexual in nature. It wanted to get inside you. It wanted to feed on you, to get in you, and make
I mean,
babies on
in
you.
essence. But no, in essence, and this is something I read in the notes for this, is that they wanted to give us this idea of basically it attached itself, it impregnated itself, and it bolted.
Do you think that it was interesting that the first victim was not a woman?
Yes, I think that's important. I think that's important because if we're going to look at this franchise, which it has become, as this vehicle for a feminist character with Ripley.
Okay,
Then-
I don't want to use that word.
but I
feminist,
do.
But I think it's female empowering.
Well, okay, so if we're going to look at, again, I don't want to get all like my job, but if we look at what feminism means in the literary term, then this is a very, very feminist text. Now, not
Why?
necessarily in
social
feminism, because what this is female empowerment. It is showing inequality of female to male characters.
You're talking about with like Ash not listening to.
Well, I just think the fact that the
Ripley?
fact that Ripley is the only one to survive, right? It shows that in essence, in physicality or in mentality or whatever you want to call
Yeah, but
it,
La-
she's
not the only
smarter and
female.
stronger.
She's not the only female.
It doesn't matter if she's the only one. It's the fact that she is the one.
and
But she's number two in charge.
I think, well,
Again,
if it's the
yeah.
future. I think it's showing that equality has happened, like that there's an equity among, or equality, excuse me, not equity, equality among the genders, right?
Yeah, but Ash had no. Ash, you realize Ash was not listening to Ripley at all.
All Ash wanted to do was act on behalf of the company.
Yes.
In my opinion.
Yeah, once it came
Yeah,
down
but he
to it.
kind of got kind of crazy in that whole scene when he was trying to like shove that fucking magazine in that girl's, Ripley.
Yeah,
what
that to
that
me,
was
like that.
fucking-
If we're not seeing some kind of
It's almost like a circuit. Like he was like freaking out because he realized that he was meant to do one thing, and then all of a sudden he's not allowed to do it
It's
anymore.
almost like he found a dysfunction in his program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But man, the way that it was done with him shoving that down her throat, essentially. I mean, I don't want to get all graphic, but like that is so. What's the word I'm looking for? It is so in our face,
Right.
and to me, yeah, this is very, very much what men can do to women, and what. And it is reversing. It's changing the role. The fact that like the guy has the baby.
Well, and without this movie, I don't think you get Terminator, which I think Linda Hamilton.
Interesting. That's a really interesting concept.
I
Yeah.
think-
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
You haven't seen that yet, and I think
No,
we're
but
gonna
I-
get later this
again,
season,
it's
but
one
you're
that I
gonna
know.
you're going to see this, and you saw a string of it, right? So
Yeah.
it's interesting that it's also James Cameron, because James Cameron also had a very strong woman in Aliens.
Which, go ahead.
I just think that there's this interesting shift, and I think it happened in
This movie.
coming out of the 60s and into this movie. I think that Star Wars started it. I think that Leia was a strong, powerful force in that movie, no pun intended. And I think it gave birth to this idea that in the future they can show a future where women are not what they're perceived as currently.
Agree.
So let's talk a little bit about, just for a moment, the special effects, because I think that this movie, had no CGI, basically, very simple CGI, but the chest bursting scene, the creation of the
Ahead of
the
its
effects,
time.
I think were just phenomenal.
it was ahead of its time.
And it still holds up.
And it's practical.
Still
to
holds
me,
up, dude.
To me, I'm just going to say it. Practical effects beat special effects
Absolutely
almost
do.
every time. Almost. I'm not
And-
going to say every time, but almost every
I
time.
want to say also at the beginning of the movie, you got the feel of the movie just with the score, and it was like, oh, like I'm already scared without even watching the
It
scene.
was an eerie
We
feeling.
have
It was
that-
very eerie. It's just like, oh my god! And then you saw the credits of like, 7 crew members. They're going on this oil rig.
Yeah, I
And-
love the slow movement of the camera. We have that establishing shot of the spaceship going over our heads. Then we go into the spaceship, and we're just walking through the tunnels, and it's not rushed, and it's taking its time.
Yes.
And it's not like Justice League a couple weeks ago where it just went on and on and on for 4 fucking hours. But instead, we get into this, and then it breaks us into them waking up. So in essence, we're waking up with them.
Yeah.
And so we don't know
I love
anything
that
more
scene
than
too,
they
man. Yeah.
Yeah.
they do. And the fact that we have John Hurt as the first
And
one
you got the
out.
idea of
God,
like,
it's so
okay,
perfect.
like they're on the ship, and I guess they're all asleep right now, and like there's not you have no idea what's going on, but you just realize, okay, everyone's like in this little, like they're incubating right now, and
Like a
they're.
birth or something
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Well, it's really a lot like almost like Matrix in a lot of ways.
yeah.
I'm just wondering though, realistically, is like,
Mm-hmm.
why is there only 7?
That's probably based
Yeah.
off of the corporation for.
Why is there only 7?
Because
Like,
that was the budget of the movie.
Yeah.
realistically, on the you see the size of that ship.
The size of the ship.
The
You're
size
right.
of the ship.
ship
There should be at
looks
least
huge.
14.
Well, we have the two mechanic. We have the 2 engineers.
Why
whatever
only
you wanna call
2?
them. Only 2, and they're not getting paid anything.
Well,
they want
that's why-
bonuses.
Hey, that's why their fight was like, hey, why don't we get the full point
I
share?
feel
dude?
so bad for them. They're like, can we just have a bonus?
Yeah.
They kept saying this, like, just give them the damn bonus, guys.
Yeah.
What I think is interesting too is the way that this you say this movie has impacted movies to come.
Mm-hmm.
You've got an entire universe created in Stargate. I don't know if you're familiar.
Oh yeah.
with-
Oh,
So
heck yeah. That's a
like
good one.
There's like 9 seasons of this
Oh, I've
stupid show.
You
No,
know,
no,
screw
the
that
movie's
movie.
fucking
That
great,
movie.
No, the movie's
Kurt
great.
Russell, what's his name?
The
Your
movie's
boy.
great.
James
Yeah,
Spader.
James Spader.
Love James Spader.
you
James
do.
Spader. If you ever want to just like be on
Shoot
the
the shit.
show,
Just shoot
like,
the shit with us.
You don't even need to be on the record. I'll just love to talk to you. Let me just.
We always say you're James Spader.
No, I'm Reddington.
You're red.
What I think is interesting about this, where was I going? Oh, Stargate, is that you have this chest burster, right? Well, Stargate has this creature that lives inside of the people, their hosts that have these symbionts that live inside of them. I swear to God, they got that idea.
Oh, they
from
have
this.
to for sure.
So let's finish out and talk about kind of the last battle and Sigourney Weaver and the cat surviving.
Just when you think it's safe to go on the other spaceship,
This is my least favorite part of the movie.
I would agree with you.
I just think that seriously, like, I was hoping for something more.
Tidy
I
whities, man.
feel like
Tidy
the whole scene
whities.
where she was getting undressed was like kind of like uncalled for, you know, in a way.
It was so
But then-
70s, 80s.
But then when you're talking about how the alien is and the xenomorph, it kind of just it's like almost watching her, and it comes out.
I feel like it
know?
almost respects her to a certain
to wait and
degree.
kill
But
her after
in a
she's
way,
dressed?
it kind of actually like in the flesh.
So do you think the xenomorph is a male? Or
I
a
was going to
female?
ask you that. I've always heard of it as the female. Maybe it's because of Alien 3 or whatever it is.
I don't think it's either. I think it's just a specimen that just wants to
Produce.
just produce and like just able to survive. That's its main purpose.
So let me give you a little bit of context for this movie. We did Justice League a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago at this point. In the first almost 8 minutes of that movie, there's no dialogue. Well, in the first 6 minutes of this movie, there's no dialogue. And you can feel the difference. The
There's a
tension
tension.
that's created in this movie. And I know it's Ridley Scott, not John Carpenter, but I swear John Carpenter had huge impact on this movie. It's almost like Ridley Scott looked at the movies that had preceded this movie and said, I'm going to take little bits from all these other films and I'm going to make the scariest space movie of all time. And he succeeded.
He did exceed it. I mean, like I was telling you, like there was this whole kind of different like vibe in the late 70s. You had science fiction and you had horror movies all coming out and whatnot. And I think seriously, Ridley Scott was able to put just both together, and you have this particular movie which just stands the test of time. That's it, man.
And it does, because I mean, it's as good today on Blu-ray as it was.
Fucking gorgeous.
It is beautiful. It's a beautiful movie. I would argue that it's clearer and crisper than most movies today.
Alien movies. All movies.
No. I'm saying that Alien is just visually cleaner and crisper than most movies that are released today.
Really?
You got to watch it on my TV. It is the crispest movie I've seen in a long time. Of course, me and Jeremy did sit through the first
Do you agree with
45
that?
minutes of
Brandon,
2001: A Space Odyssey.
do you agree with that?
That was a gorgeous film, but I just couldn't
I
handle
watched it on my
it.
couldn't do it.
computer when I was really this kind of big, small.
And it was a little blurry.
So that brings us to the end of our review. Now it's time in the podcast where each of the hosts provides a score on our following scale. Eddie, can you please provide us
You always do
our
it when I'm
scale?
not ready, bro. Thank you.
You know it's coming.
All right, 0, perfect movie. Don't need shit to enjoy it. 1, a first good first cocktail. 2, a happy buzz. 3, Uber lifting home. 4, a rough morning walk of shame. 5, blacked out, shit face, spring rate drunk. Brandon, let's start with you, Brandon.
God damn it. Okay. So I came into this, like I said earlier, completely
Uh-huh.
unassuming of anything and kind of
Yes.
just like not impressed, over-impressed, under-impressed, just kind of waiting to see what it was all about.
And?
Visually, thank you, I thought it over-exceeded. I thought it did so well visually and story-wise. I literally stopped the movie halfway through, turned to my wife, and I said, man, this story is literally amazing. Even though it's
10
really
times better than
simple-
Justice League, right?
We're not even in the
Justice League was like a
same
month
sport.
ago,
We're not even in
bro.
the same sport, bro. Anyway, shit. What am I saying? Anyway, so story wise, it's a simple story, right? I mean, it really is. Alien gets on board ship, terrorizes crew.
How's that?
At the
This is
same time.
79. That's so creative.
Anyway, stories didn't start in 1973, buddy. What the hell, dude?
79. Another story just like that. It's not
Okay.
simple.
Keep going.
Thank you. Anyway, so story wise, and concept wise, and visual wise, I think this movie was maybe even near a half to me. I thought I was blown away by it. I cannot get myself over the performances from the actors and or the writing. Now that's not enough to bring it down to like, I don't know, Justice League or Point Break bad, but instead it does
Or
bring it
Big
down.
Lebowski.
Or Gatsby. It doesn't take it down that far for me, but it does take it down, and I was really upset about that. Now, granted, I haven't seen Aliens, I haven't seen Alien 3, I haven't seen anything besides Prometheus, and that was completely, again, like I was saying, completely out of context. And I would love to kind of expand my horizon on this, but if I'm just taking what I saw and the frustration that I got from the performances, I'm going to go with a 1.75. So this is a feel-good first cocktail. I loved it. I wanted to love it more, and I think I could have. Again, like Sean, you were saying, maybe if it wasn't made in 1979 with the time that it was, there would be something more to it. But I was very unimpressed with Sigourney Weaver and Tom Skerritt especially. So 1.75 for me. Eduardo, that is your name, isn't it?
It
or
is.
is it just annoying?
So what other movie can you compare this to at
I'm sorry, I'm
1979?
done talking, so right now
That's
it's your
right,
turn.
you're done talking. So in 1979, there's nothing like this movie. Like, this movie was ahead of its time. You weren't even
This
born.
is not
You weren't even-
Halloween.
You're done talking now.
I
You
literally
weren't
gave it a
you're
good
done
score.
Are you done?
It's a good score.
Oh, so why are you still talking?
Good score.
So why are you done? Are you continue or are you done?
Eddie, put your dick out, man.
That is a big one.
Are you done? Or you want
No, I literally am done.
Okay, good. So,
So
like
go
I said,
for it.
there's
Talk.
nothing else.
Explain it to me.
You weren't born in 1979. This was ahead of its time. Okay, Star Wars ain't got nothing on this.
Get the fuck out of here. And you
I
know,
know.
that.
I
You know
know
that.
that.
You know who you're surrounded by.
If you have to put Alien and Star Wars next to each other,
Watch your fucking
long term,
Long term.
creative. Like, let's see who bringing stuff out of the like. This is pretty cool. If you think of there's this came out of
not
nowhere.
going golfing with
You're
you tomorrow.
done. You're done. You're done.
We're not golfing
Alien was actually pretty impressive. For Ridley Scott to create this out of nowhere. This was a pretty cool creative story. I know you love Star Wars. You're all over it. It's hard to say where this movie ranks above Star Wars, though. So I give you that, Brandon.
Above Star Wars.
No,
As in
above
better
or
than.
no, above or below. But I put this movie around the same level as Star Wars. Yes. Yeah, 1979, bro. There's nothing like
1977.
no 79.
No, this movie's
I know Star Wars is 1977. So guess what? It
Yeah.
did have something like it because there was a space odyssey.
all right.
Bro, and I'm trying to say that this movie was actually really
Wasted my
creative.
time.
I feel like you guys are talking. You guys are like in the same page. You guys
We're on
are
the same fucking
you-
page,
you
bro.
know,
What are
I
you
don't know why
talking
you
about?
guys are like butting heads. It's funny.
Give a score.
I know. I'm trying to say is that your score is a little bit too high. I think this movie is a lot better than you gave it.
Correct it then.
Okay, I will. I'm looking at you right now, and I'm
-3.
no, not
Still
negative
give
3. But I'm just thinking this is the beginning of a lot of the whole Ridley Scott. I don't think he knew what was happening when he created this story. But I mean, this is a movie that I feel like is. My boys both wanted to watch it, but I'm like, no, you can't watch it because it definitely scar you a little too soon. But I feel like it's a movie that you can watch anytime and you're gonna enjoy it, right? Did you not enjoy the movie, Brandon?
I did. That's why I gave it a high score.
It was too low. It was too low. It was too low, bro. It was like you started begging.
What do you think it is?
1.5.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Jeremy, you want me to go or you want to go?
I'll go, yo. You finish it out, dude. Okay. All that shit. It was just a 0.25 fucking difference. Get the fuck out of here, yo.
Oh my god! That's the
We've
best
had
thing
too
I've ever
many
seen.
chest-burst
Oh
or
my
alien
God.
blood
Fucking A,
cocktails.
yo. I think Alien is a revolution of a movie, man. I think seriously, it's one of the best horror movies ever made, and I mean that in the best way. I think it's just ahead of its time. I think the xenomorph Alien, you will never see anything created like that.
Aliens. Keep going.
It's a xenomorph, bro. Just because they have the different titles, it's the same creature.
It's the same creature.
Keep going.
It's bigger and it's a queen. It lays eggs.
I actually like the cast. I thought you seriously was like you're a part of the crew when you first were brought in. I love the set designs. I love the atmosphere. I love the tension of this movie. I think this movie is still going to hold up another 20 years when people watch
Yes,
it.
yes.
I think this movie is absolutely fantastic. The only problem I have is just the ending. I just wish there was a little more where he
What?
didn't get shot out with a fucking bow and arrow and hanging by the spaceship and gets blasted out.
Smile, you son of a
Yeah.
bitch.
So I wishing there was a little more to it. If it's almost a perfect fucking movie for me, but it isn't. However, I think for me, I can watch this movie anytime, any fucking year, any freaking month, dude. I enjoy this movie, and I think seriously, horror movies that I love very much, pretty much hold a respect to this movie, without a doubt. And so for me, this is a 0.75 for me.
All right, 0.75.
Y'all too high.
All right, so I did a little quick
Respect.
search after I watched this movie for the movies that came before it that influenced it, right? So you've got 2001: A Space Odyssey, Star Wars 1977, Invasion of the Body Snatchers 78, War of the Worlds 1953, Andromeda Strain 1971. Those are the four major ones, okay?
Invasion of the Body Snatchers 1950.
No, well, yeah,
something which is a much better one.
yeah,
than
which is better. Anyway,
Wonder Woman.
it's the same concept, right? So you've got this fear of the unknown, and that's where I think this movie thrives. I think this movie it creates I've never felt the tension other than The Thing, and maybe
I think the thing has to do with people too. That was the
yeah,
thing. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. I think that this movie captured the human condition better than anything else in the 1970s. In many respects, I think this movie is better than Star Wars from
keep going.
I
Sorry.
think this
from
might
a
be my-
realistic perspective. From
This might be my last one.
but nothing is ever going to capture the magic of Star Wars. Ever.
Oh, yeah.
Continue.
I'm saying that this
continue.
movie definitely has a
surprising.
gritty realism that I think that if other movies took note from this one, it's that you can do aliens without getting crazy science fiction-y.
Phantom Menace took. Oh, never mind.
Anyway,
What?
Phantom Menace.
that being said, I do agree with Brandon. I think that the characters are slightly wooden. I think that Sigourney Weaver really exploded from this movie, not in this movie. I actually think she was much better in Aliens than she was
Ghostbusters?
in this movie. And I think that if you look at something like Avatar, she's come so far as an actress since this movie. I do believe that this movie gave birth to something like Terminator and that
Pun
genre
intended.
of strong female characters. So I think this movie is iconic. I think it changed the way movies have been made. And when we look at our mandate for this podcast is how we're reviewing movies that impacted cinema. I don't think you can point to a bigger horror movie that impacted cinema.
Not cinematographically.
No.
Good job.
Way to squeeze that word
Had
in
to get it in there.
Anyway, that being said, I think it definitely has some drawbacks, but I think they're overshadowed by the good. I think the good outweighs the bad by a lot. I'm going to give this movie a 1. I think it's a really great movie. I think it stands the test of time. If you watch it on a high definition TV and Blu-ray, I think it's the most crisp science fiction movie
I agree with you
that
on
I've
that.
seen in a long time. So, Eddie, when you add Brandon's 1.75, Jeremiah's 0.75, your 1.5 and my 1, and divide by 4, what does that give Alien on our list of movies?
1.75 plus 1.5.
Seriously?
I did the math for you already, Ed.
5. What were you?
You got a 1.
1 equals divided by
4.
Okay. It's a 1.25.
Okay, so that means that
1.25.
Jeremy, where does that put us on the list of movies that we've reviewed?
It's tied for 7th, actually.
It's
Between what?
It's actually with Elf. It's between The Good and the Bad and the Ugly and Garden State and Rise of Skywalker. Jaws is better than it.
Jaws is a 1.06.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well,
Elf, American Graffiti, 1.25
actually-
each.
Yeah.
So it's actually tied for 6th, not 7th.
No, Richard Dreyfuss.
No, because Good and the Bad and
brings
the
it
Ugly is
better.
1.8.
The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is 1.18.
Yeah.
Great movie.
I have the Good, the Bad. I have the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly at 1.18, but it's on 11. So this is wrong.
It's in the top 10.
No. This my chart is wrong.
Oh, okay.
bum, bum, bum.
Okay, cool. So it's tied for 7th.
How about
Yeah.
you email us with the correct score?
Well, it's on the drive if you just go look at it.
How about whoever listens to it can actually hear the real score?
Anyway, so I think that's actually a really good place for it. What I was shocked about with this movie is it wasn't on AFI's list of top 100
I was thinking the
movies.
same thing, too, actually.
I was actually super disappointed in that. I think that it deserves to be on that list.
Absolutely.
Especially when I looked at the list and I saw like 9 Charlie Chaplin movies on there. All right. If you enjoyed our review or are a fan of the podcast, we ask that you please subscribe wherever you're listening and leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. I cannot express to you enough how physical written reviews really will catapult this podcast into a better position. I think that we have really gotten a considerable number of listeners now at this point. I'd like to
thank each one of you
we thank you.
individually.
Yeah, I was just saying, thank you so much for listening. You can also find us on Instagram at The Gentleman Podcast. You can visit our website at thegentlemanpodcast.com for season 3 ratings, or if you want, you can do so. You can reach out by email, at hosts with an S at thegentlemanpodcast.com. I really encourage people to go out and actually send us emails. Tell us what you think. We'd love to hear from you.
Share us. Tell us to all your friends and your family and whatnot. It goes out. Seriously, the biggest thing in the world for us. So please do that.
Anyway, so we're looking forward to seeing you next week. And thank you for listening. And we'll see you soon. Cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers. glass.
best clink ever.
that
Oh, remember last time when you shattered it?
No.
It's sitting right here.
That was Jeremiah.
was Jeremiah.
It was me actually.
remember that.
I thought we were never going to talk about it, but we
Nope.
just brought it up.
Since